quickly, let me just run you through these other options, the other transforming tools, how we can use them, how they actually work, and how we can use them um, to generate our animation, to just do a little animation so that I get a feel of how they work, how they actually work. So, for instance, for the scale property, I would like to, okay, this comes in. So let's say as this is coming in, we have our shape layer also comes into. So you can see with what I have here, I would actually like it to feel, you know what, let it fill this. Once it comes in, let it fill this screen somewhere here. So you can see I need it to fill this whole half part, that's from the top to bottom. So as it is now, the size is not what I want. So I can press S for the scale, S for the short. S is the shortcut for to bring out your scale property for any layer in After Effects. So with that now, so I want it to see scale up. So once I do that, if I do this now, right? Like in fact, I even want. Okay, I think I like the width, right? Yeah, I love the width, but I don't like the height. I want to increase the height. But once I go straight to this, once I go here, you can see my mouse, right? Once I go here, once I start increasing it, it will increase both the width and height, but that's not what I want. To a large extent, I like the width already. So a way to do that, not to do this, what just happened now is to click this this constraint proportion to icon here. That's like a chain, right? Once I click it, it unlinks the width and height. That's also the x and y value. So with this now, I can, many times I usually get confused which one is x, but many times once, okay, as I've made this mistake now, you know, okay, whoop, that's not the one I should press. So I go with this. So you can see it's scaling from the anchor point where I place this, right? So I can, after that now, I can afford to nudge it down by pressing my down arrow. As I press down my down arrow to bring it down more to this level, right? Yeah, I think it's okay like this now. You can take it. Then I don't want it covering this. I just want like a text to be here, but I don't want it to totally obscure my image. So what I can do now, so how do I fix that? I can fix that by going to my transparency. But okay, let me bring all the true property again so you see them. So I can go to my transparency. Now remember, to get your anchor point you press A, right? To get your scale you press S. To get your rotation you press R. However, to now get your opacity you actually press T, right? So all of them uses their initials, but opacity is the only one that they that uses T and not O. So that is it. But let me bring everything else for you to see. So yes, I reduce it a little bit like this, something of this nature, and I can go up and because I want this to act as an overlay, right? To a large extent, I will need it a little bit darker than it is now. So to do that, I can go here and change the color, right? I click it and come here. I can drag this down to change the particular, to use this particular color that I like, right? Yes. Yeah, I wanted to say I can drag that, but sometimes once you select a color, because this color is more of like it's matching the one I have here, right? So I can take it back. It's more of like matching the one I have. So I don't want to start messing around with the color here, but I just wanted it a little bit darker. So the way to go about that is to, there's the option here, right? All of this option. So you can see this is the hue is the one selected. So I can come to brightness. Once I select brightness, I can now start decreasing the the brightness level down to something of this nature that is a bit dark, but maintaining the same color scheme here that we have here. So once I'm okay with that, so this is coming in this way, or I would like to use the scale property. So the picture I have in my mind is that as this is coming in, then this one scales up from here, then it grows, right? It now grows, so the scale would work better. But once I go on now, so it means at the initial time it's so small that we can't see. That's at 0 scale level that it disappears. But if I try to start doing that now, yeah, and I want it to grow from, it starts somewhere here very small, then it grows up and down, right? Something of the, but however, if I start to mess around with it, see where it's scaling from. It's scaling from somewhere, but I want it to scale from the middle. So how do we solve that? We go back to our what's this called, to our anchor point 2, or pen behind 2, they call it pen behind 2, or the shortcut for that is Y. I press my Y to key, then I bring this here, holding. Okay, before we needed to press Control for this thing to come out, but I think the smart guide is already there. So once I have that now, I return to V. I press V, then I return to this key, my selection key, my selection 2 rather. I press V to return to my selection 2. Then I can now scale. Remember, in the beginning, I don't want to see it at all. So I need to take it to like this, to 0%. Yes, 0%. 0% in the, that's the height. It should be at 0%. Then I mark it. That's by clicking this, what we call the stopwatch, to tell it stay at this particular time. Maintain your queue at this particular time. Don't come out yet. So allow this person to, let's say, somewhere here before you start growing out. Somewhere here before you start growing out. That means this starting point, right? Before it starts growing out, it means I must mark it to be here. This one, I need to place it here. Since I want it to start to anything you want, before it starts moving, it must be here, right? This is why I need it to start moving, right? So I need the starting points here. Then let's say within few frame, okay, then there's a shortcut to like move your time indicator in time, like to move your time indicator in time, so that you have, because I can actually move it in time by dragging, right? Dragging this, what I'm doing here now, by dragging it to by just dragging it in time. But for me to be much more specific in the amount of frame I'm moving, right, all I need to do is press Control and the forward arrow key. You see, with this, it nudges it, it goes in one frame in time. Control again and forward arrow, Control plus forward arrow key, it goes again but I need it to quickly jump. So let me take the timeline indicator to the first frame here, to the first keyframe here. I need it to go to like 10 frame ahead. That's in 10 frames. I need it to quickly scale up. That's scale out and come out. So with that, I need to press Control Shift forward arrow key, so it goes in 10 frame ahead. So by this time I need it to grow to 100%. though it can scale more than that, but to 100% towards. Oh, I remember what just happened is that at 100%, this is the original. When the time I created it, right, using this either this rectangle two, right, the two here. The time I created that, right, this was its original form, but I have modified it to make it bigger. So that means I need to now continuously scale this to more than that. So to something like this. So this is what happens now. So what have I done? Let me go through this because keyframing is very key as in everything we do. So it is a concept that we really need to capture. And I've discovered that for some people it takes like a while for them to get a hang over it. So what have I done for this key, right? At looking at my story, the little story that I'm creating here, I have this particular image coming up, right? Once it comes up, I need to give it time to also come up so everything won't be chaotic. Then the picture I have in my mind is that once it's at this particular time, this is when this the shape that I'm using as overlay where the text will sit, right? Very soon I'll also go into the text layer for us to see how that also works out. Then it's at this particular time, which is 22 frame 22, right? Yeah, frame 22. That's when it starts coming out. So that means I need to register it. I need to tell it, mark this. So remember, at this particular time, you start. You maintain this particular property. That is what. Yes. Now I registered because the major property I needed it to to change in time, right? And because of that change, it gives it a sense of movement, it gives a sense of animation, a scale. However, mind you, it's also maintaining some other properties. Right now, there are some properties it's also maintaining. For instance, the position, right, is maintaining a particular position. It's maintaining a particular rotation, even though at zero, right? And okay, a very good one to buttress this point is that it's also maintaining an opacity value, which we gave it to be 80 something, right? However, we are just focusing on the scale. That's it. The one to change over time. We are just focusing on the scale, and we told it that okay, at this particular time, even though you have all these other attributes, yes, they are fine, but the one we want to change now in time is the scale property. So it becomes necessary for us to mark when should the change start and when you are starting, what particular attribute would you be starting with, and when we move in time, which of the attributes should have changed. And we said okay, we are focusing on scale, right? So at this point, even in scale, right, the what is changing is just the height. So at frame 22, which you can see here, at frame 22, it's yeah, I made it disappear by taking it to 0%. Then at frame, that's 1 second, 8 frames, I brought it out to 139 scale level, 239 scale level. So I hope you're able to understand get a hang on keyframing. So right now, I also advise it for it to be try out other properties, like you can create maybe even there are other shapes here, maybe an ellipse too and polygon too, and try out other, yes, try to animate other things too to like get a hang over the keyframing. So with that now, so this is what we have. If we do a playback now, I really want the what's it called, the I really want my timeline to just be here so I can quickly do a preview. So if I need it to end here and not at the 10 seconds, so I can quickly do a preview, because if I press my key space bar now, once I press my space bar, this continuously go, and that's not what I before it comes back. But I just quickly need to do a playback somewhat around 2 seconds. So for me to do that, for me to get this my timeline to end here, I press N. Then if I really want it to start somewhere at a specific place, I press B, right? B and N. So but I really wanted to, I didn't want to do that. So okay, as I'm back here, I can press B, then it returns to this where my timeline indicator is. It starts at where my timeline indicator, then N ends, makes it then N, it ends the timeline indicator. Yeah, my timeline ends there. The work area, actually, the work area ends there. So I can now press play, then this happens. Well, for now the animations are not looking, but just for you to get a hang on, we won't go too much deep into okay how to refine all of this, but you can see what is happening here, and the timing is a little bit off, like slow and everything, but it's just for you to get a hang of all this property. Today is even property, not so much of animation, but there is no how, to a large extent I want to demonstrate how property work without doing a little bit of animation. So that's what we are doing, but we wouldn't start to go into finessing the animation. So yes, so with this now, yes, you can see out of all the properties here, I focused on just one single one, right? But later on, when we progress, maybe as this thing is scaling up, it's also performing some other function. It's also changing, it's also doing other action too, apart from scaling, just scaling out. So but right now, let's just keep everything very, very, very simple. So with that, then we can go to like the text tool for us to also see. So what's the possible way for us to oh no, Control Z, I needed to, okay, now I'm using my shift. What I'm pressing now is shift and the left arrow key to nudge this. So let me type in discipline, right? Yeah, discipline. Yeah. Yeah, so let me take it somewhere here. Discipline. So I wanted to separate for you to read discipline, so that so that the text will be a little bit larger than this and a little bit funky than what we have, but you can see it's scattered. So the way to what is actually happening is that this property here, what was it called? Yes, the leading. Yes, yeah, the leading is too close to each other. So hope you can see my mouse. I need to enable something to make. Well, we'll do that in the next class or the next player. Yes, my mouse is here. So once I do this, yeah, then it allows for all of this. It allows me to separate. They were just too close. And also I can scale this up. Then yes, as I'm scaling up, I'm separating. Yeah. Then yes, it's aligning. You can see that the alignment is happening in the left hand side, in the right hand side rather, but that's not what I want. I want it to align in the left hand side, and the way to solve that issue is that come down here to this paragraph, right? You can see what is checked here is the left hand side, right align text, right? But that's not what I want. I want it to align in the left, so you can So because it reads better, because with our composition, right, is best for this. Let me just put it there. You can always check online about composition and designs, but right now let's not go into that one. So it reads better this way. Discipline. I hope I got this spelling correct. So yes, so with this, so yes, then how do I change this to? So wait, with all of this, right? It's giving a hangover because the these layers that I'm working with, they are like the typical layers I will be working apart from the sound and but they're like the typical layers you'll be working with every time. We have this I'm showing this. We have this as the background, right? As our background, white. We are just using white as our background. Then we have a picture, or let's say a picture on Illustrator, right? Then we have a shape layer. Then I have this, but you can see all of this editing that I'm also doing is like, okay, introducing you to how all of this works. How, if you want to change their properties, their attributes to like communicate your idea, right? You can see I typed in, I changed, I formatted the text. So more in line to that is that this my text is not really reading well here, because since the background is a little bit dark, so we need a color that actually pops, right? So, and I think white will do, right? So yes, to change that, I'm here, I click this pipe, I think it's called what was it called again now? Yeah, selector. Is a selector, is something selector. Then I can quickly, since there's white here, right? I can quickly just use, because it's only white and black that is here. I can just quickly use white here straight, or I come here, right? This is a fill, and this is this. Though right now, I don't have this. I don't have. Okay, you know what? Let me enable this so that you see the difference. This is for the stroke. Yes, that's for the stroke, and you can see I'm I just added, sometimes, right? There are some designs that some people just only use. There sometimes that, okay, what would probably make the work look nice, make your text look nice. You might just need to just use stroke alone and make this not make the feel not. Okay, let me even explain the difference between stroke. To a large extent, I'm just assuming. Okay, let me zoom in here. So for every text there is the feel. You know what, let me, okay, I think this explains it. You can see the stroke is the outline, it's just the outline, right, of the text. That's what the stroke is for. And this is what you find here. You can see this box, right? It's giving you that, okay, this is the stroke, this is the outline for this text, which I changed the color. Now this one is the fill for this text, right? Which at a time it was black, I changed it to white, right? Now I came down here. Can you see my mouse? I'm trying to move it. Yes, I came down here to increase it. Now so much increases that it has even overshadowed, it has overpowered the fill itself, right? Or I can make it, just put it at 0. Many times I put it at 0, but just once in a while, right, I can add. I think in the corporate world, in corporate communication, many times they don't like to have stroke on their text many times. But it's when you are like doing expressive work, expressive art and all of that, you can start to experiment with all of this. So So, well, this is just to tell you that this option exists. Or sometimes I can say, you know what, I'm only making use of stroke. See, it's just stroke that is available here now. You can see it's just stroke. So, but that's just to tell you this particular property. But right now, no, this is not what I want. See, once I toggle this swap fill or this thing, so it swap the color of the fill to the fill to the stroke and vice versa. But that's not what I want. I need white fill on this. Then I don't want this at all. I don't want it at all, so I can create this no stroke button here. That's this. Yes. Then come back here to get my white color back. Yeah, so that's that for that. So once this, let's say this comes in, right, and this also comes in, then using opacity, right, I make this discipline. So let's say, so because since it's sitting on this what I call banner, I usually call them banner or overlay, since it's sitting on that, right, it makes more sense for somewhere around this corner, then it starts to come in whatever attribute that we want to give it. But right now I want it to fade in. That's the picture I have in my mind. It should fade in. So it means at this point in time it should be completely transparent that we can't see it. Now fading in now is about using, we now need to play. See how I'm going through this, right? First of all, you think of the animation that is in your head that's actually playing out, right? You think of it, you map it out. Then you now ask yourself, what attributes, yes, in all of this. Right now, I'm just focusing on this transform tool here. There are other tools that later on that we can also that they are at our disposal for us to use to do animation. But right now, I'm just focused because these are the key ones. These are the key ones, right? Then I will now think in all these transform tool available to me, which of them can achieve this. So you can see the pattern. I need to do this. Then which tool is which tool can I use to achieve that? Then once I've made that decision, is opacity, right? Then I'll now decide, okay, is opacity. Then what point in time? Though sometimes I do all of this, it's just spontaneous. I mumble everything at once. But if you were to go to my brain and pick my brain and start breaking them down, this is how it's actually. But once you do that constantly, the time which you make this particular decision, they begin to overlap, right? But in a nutshell, this is how it flows. This is like the flow. So since I want it to fade in, is opacity, and I've determined is opacity, right? Then now the next thing I go to timing. So, and I've said, okay, somewhere here, then it starts fading in, right? So this is at 1 second 6 frame. So I go to my opacity and enable this animation. That's this diamond. Once I click this stopwatch, right, it brings a diamond, right? Then I tell it at this particular time I don't want to see you. I need you to totally fade out. Then once it totally fade out, I go in time. Now let's say, I think many times my animation I just do 10 frame ahead. And remember what I said, to go to 10 frame ahead, you press Control Shift forward arrow. Control Shift forward arrow, it goes 10 frame ahead. Then I bring out, I make it fade in totally. That's 100%. Hope that is clear enough, simple enough. So at the beginning, there is nothing. We just have our background, right? Then we have our this thing fading. Plenty of timing is off and everything. But okay, you know what? The timing is a little bit of very, very, very much off. Like overall, everything is off here, but I just don't want to start going into that. But I think I can take this. See what I'm doing? I'm dragging the layer here now of this discipline layer. I'm dragging it here in time. So I press down my with my mouse and now move it to the right. So with that now it's going, because to a large extent when I played it, it wasn't allowing. I think this works better now. It was clashing because the way our brain works is that uh, it's just like in stage two, in stage performance. Before another person, once someone is talking, the principal person is performing, right? The next person that is meant to also react or respond, they usually give some a little bit amount of time for this other person to finish talking before the other person talks. So before, what actually happens that there was so much of clash between when this our overlay shape layer was coming in and when the discipline was fading in. So in our mind, you're like, which one? What am I looking at? Which one do you want me to look at? So it become a little bit distracting. So, but right now, I'm now moved. By dragging it, I moved it in time to allow this to finish, to have its own show first before it comes in. So though everything is still looking very, solid, too rigid, but you see, it worked. It works a little bit. It works far better now than before. It works far better now than before. So with this, we've come to the end of this particular lesson, which is just a basic intro to some of the properties. Later, I think yes, after now, we'll look into comp, into pre-comping and some other. But right now, we've just looked at the basic tools to we can use. That's the transform tools, right? Because the transform tools, which are these, right? They are for every single was it every single layer that we have in After Effects comes with this. By default, it gives us this transform tool. So it becomes necessary for us to know what they are and to understand before we can now start talking of some advanced ways to animate. Yes. Yes, okay. Then the next after this now, okay, let's say this is our animation, right? Then which is something we should have done very much earlier than this, because before it start, in fact, immediately we created our comp. Immediately we created our comp, we are meant to actually save our projects. We are meant to do that and not after working. Please don't do this. Please don't do this. Don't do this. The good practice is immediately as you're creating the first comp. In fact, as you did the click that new project, you should just do Ctrl S. Then okay, let's do Ctrl S. Then yeah, I can come here. I'm looking for a part then go to a particular part for you to save. I'm going to my workshop explainer. It's in class 1. Yeah, then save. Yeah, then a very good practice is you usually have a folder called AE folder for every. I think later I think I will have a separate tutorial explaining some of the how to save your files. But right now we just needed to introduce you people to After Effects interface, the properties available for us to animate, right? So I have After Effects, then I can now save by saying class as 00001. Intro to AE. Yeah, then save. So that brings us to the end of this class, which is for us to get for us to know, to understand the After Effects interface, the property available to us, the basic properties, transform properties available to us for us to change, and with that do animation, right? So Yes, and thank you. That brings me to an end to this class.